All right, hi again, everyone. Let's get started on week one material. Okay, so again, you're going to spend most of your time in the module. So here I am on the home page. We're going to click on the modules, and in my MathLab quick links, just a reminder, you have all of these quick links to different things in my MathLab. Week 0, I asked you to get registered with my MathLab. I hope you've already done that and you're ready to go. And then week 1, class notes and assignments. This is where we'll be working this first week. Okay, so here I'm saving my spot for this week one introduction video. So what I want to do is just kind of quickly let you know what kind of material is coming up for the week, because I don't want you to lose track of the big picture. So in our first set of notes, I'm just going to click on the complete notes here. In our first set of notes, and I just want to make sure you understand the learning objectives. So the first section that we're talking about is 1.1. So the first homework is for sections 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. Really, it's all review of algebra type things that you need to understand and know to be able to do well in precalculus. Okay, so the learning objectives for 1.1 when we're reviewing graphs are to be able to plot points in the rectangular coordinate system, to graph equations in the rectangular coordinate system, to use a graph to determine intercepts, and interpret information given by the graphs. So again, this video is going through all this stuff. And in 1.2, we're still reviewing. We want basics of functions and their graphs. So there's 9 learning objectives here. We want to be able to find the domain and range of a relation. Relation is just another word for function. Determine whether a relation, not every relation is a function, right? Remember, it has to pass the vertical line test, all that kind of stuff. But we'll review all that. Determine whether a relation is a function. Determine whether an equation represents a function. Evaluate a function. Graph functions by plotting points. We want to use the vertical line test to identify functions. Obtain information about a function from its graph. Identify the domain and range of a function from its graph, and be able to identify the intercepts where it crosses the x and the y axis from a function's graph. And then the third section in this first set of homeworks is more on functions and their graphs, where the learning objectives here in section 1.3 are to be able to identify intervals in which a function increases, decreases, or is constant. Use graphs to locate relative maxima or minima, whether you're at the top of a hill or the bottom of a hill on your curve. Test for symmetry, whether there's symmetry about the y-axis or the x-axis or the origin. Identify even, would never be symmetry about the x-axis. Sorry, that would not be a function, but symmetry about the y-axis or the origin. Identify even or odd functions and recognize their symmetries. Understand and use piecewise functions, and find and simplify a function is what's called difference quotient. Okay, so a lot of that stuff is really things you've all seen in algebra. Then once we get into section homework 2, so due on Thursday, we'll have this homework for sections. Whoops, let me go back. I want not the blanks. Doesn't matter, but geez, open back up. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the complete set of notes for the second homework, which is due on Thursday at midnight. In section 1.4, we're going to talk about lines. Okay, lines and the slope of a line. So know how to find the slope of a line, be able to write the point slope form for the equation of a line. Write and graph the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line. Graph horizontal and vertical lines. Recognize and use the general form of a line's equation. Use intercepts to graph the general form of a line's equation. And model data with linear functions and make predictions. Okay, so that's section 1.4. And then in section 1.5, we want to be able to find slopes and equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. We want to interpret slope as the rate of change, and we want to find a function's average rate of change. So those are the topics, again, things that you should have seen before, but trying to get you back into the swing of things here in this week 1. So that homework is due Thursday night at midnight, and then due Saturday night by midnight is sections 1.6 and 1.7 homework 3. And still here in chapter 1, kind of reviewing the algebra type stuff you need. We want to make sure you remember how to do transformations of functions here in 1.6. So, you need to be able to understand the graphs of common functions, x squared, x cubed, square root of x, cube root of x, etc. Use vertical shifts to graph functions. Use horizontal shifts to graph functions. Understand reflections, whether it's about the y-axis or the origin. Understand vertical stretching and shrinking. Use horizontal stretching and shrinking to graph functions. Graph functions involving a sequence of transformations. I may want to shift it up the y-axis 2 units, then to the left 3 units, etc., etc. So how do I do that? And what does the function look like? And then in section 1.7, the last section for this first week, we want to understand composite functions. That's where we combine functions. We want to find the domain of a function, understand how to combine functions using algebra functions, form these composite functions, determine domains for composite functions, and write functions themselves as compositions. So that's what this set of notes in the homework is all about. That'll get you through week 1. So really week 1 is sort of a review, get your brain back in gear with algebra, understand what we need to do, the stuff that we needed from algebra really well to do good with the pre-calc material.